Hello everyone, welcome to AAT Learning Hub. This video is going to be first in the series of videos on physiology of nervous system. As you all know, nervous system controls and coordinates all essential functions in the body, thereby helping in maintaining balance and homeostasis. It has three main functions: sensory input, integration of data, and motor output. And the nervous system is broadly divided into central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. To elaborate more on the functions of nervous system, the sensory function is the gathering of information from both inside and outside the body through sensory neurons. Integrative function is the transmission and processing of the information in the brain. Motor function is the transmission of information from the brain to the organs, muscles, glands, with appropriate response through the motor neurons. Apart from these, the nervous system performs complex functions that is responsible for our perceptions, emotions, behavior, memories, etc. The nervous system is divided into central and peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system includes the brain and spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system includes the efferent and the afferent nerves. Efferent are the motor nerves, whereas afferent are the sensory nerves. The motor nervous system is further divided into autonomic and somatic systems. The autonomic system is further divided into parasympathetic and sympathetic nervous systems. The central nervous system, which includes brain and spinal cord, are formed by neurons and supporting cells called neuroglia. The structures of brain and spinal cord are arranged in two layers, the grey matter and white matter. The grey matter is formed by nerve cell bodies and the proximal part of nerve fibers arising from nerve cell body. The white matter is formed by the remaining parts of nerve fibers. In the brain, the white matter is the inner layer and the grey matter is the outer layer, and vice versa in the spinal cord. The brain is situated in the skull, continued as spinal cord in the vertebral canal through the foramen magnum of the skull bone. The brain and the spinal cord are surrounded by three layers of meninges. The outermost layer is called the dura mater, the middle layer is the arachnoid matter, and the inner layer is called the pia mater. The space between the middle and the inner layer, that's the arachnoid matter and the pia mater, is known as subarachnoid space that's filled with cerebrospinal fluid. The brain and the spinal cord are suspended in the cerebrospinal fluid. The peripheral nervous system is formed by neurons and their process all over the body. It consists of cranial nerves arising from the brain and spinal nerves arising from the spinal cord. The peripheral nervous system is divided into somatic nervous system, which handles the somatic functions, includes the nerves supplying the skeletal muscles, and it's responsible for muscular activities and movements of the body. The autonomic nervous system is the other division that takes care of the regulation of visceral and vegetative function. That's further divided into sympathetic and the parasympathetic divisions. Neurons. Neuron or the nerve cell is the functional unit of nervous system. Neurons are highly specialized for processing and transmission of cellular signals. The neurons vary in size, shape, and electrochemical properties. They are similar to any other cell in the body with presence of nucleus and other organelles in the cytoplasm. However, they differ from other cells in the fact that they have branches or processes called axons and dendrites, and they do not have centrosome, and so they do not undergo division. Nervous tissues are of two types. Excitatory tissues are neurons, non-excitatory tissues are neuroglia. Neurons have the potential to excite in response to specific stimuli. Neurons transmit sensory signals and motor commands. Neuroglia are smaller cells and they outnumber neurons. They support, nourish, protect neurons and maintain interstitial fluids and bath them. The neurons are classified based on three different features, depending on the number of poles, depending on the function, depending upon the length of axon. Depending on the number of poles, the neurons can be divided into unipolar, bipolar, and multipolar neurons. Unipolar neurons are those who have only one pole, from which both axon as well as dendrite arise. Bipolar neurons are those where there are two poles, with axon arising from one pole and dendrites arising from the other pole. Multipolar neurons are those neurons which have many poles. One pole gives rise to axon and all the other poles give rise to dendrites. Depending upon the function, the nerve cells or the neurons are classified into motor or efferent neurons, sensory or afferent neurons. The motor neurons are those which carry motor impulses from the central nervous system to the peripheral organs, muscles, glands, while the sensory or the afferent neurons are those neurons which carry sensory impulses from the periphery to the central nervous system. Depending on the length of the axon, the neurons are divided into Golgi type 1 and Golgi type 2. The Golgi type 1 are long axons. The body of these neurons are in different part of the central system and their axons reach the remote part of the body. While the type 2 are the ones with short axons, these neurons are present in the cerebral cortex and spinal cord. Structure of neuron. The soma or the cell body is the central part of the neuron. It contains the nucleus of the cell. Dendrite are shorter cellular extensions with many branches. These dendrites transmit impulses towards the nerve cell body. Axon is the longer process of nerve cell. Each neuron has only one axon. The part of axon where it emerges from the soma is called the axon hillock. Axons extend for a long distance away from the nerve cell body. Schwann cells are those which produce the myelin sheath. Myelin sheath is a dense lipid layer which insulates the axon. Node of Ranvier are the gaps or the nodes in the myelin sheath. Impulses travel from dendrite to the cell body to the axon. Neuroglia. Neuroglia is the supporting cell of the nervous system. They act like a glue. These neuroglial cells are non-excitable in nature and they do not transmit nerve impulse or action potential. Hence, they are called the non-neural cells or the glial cells. When compared with the number of neurons, the glial cells are outnumbered by almost 10 to 15 times. These neuroglial cells play an important role in the reaction of nerve ending during infection. Commonly, neuroglial cells constitute the site of tumors in the nervous system. The neuroglial cells are distributed in the central nervous system as well as the peripheral nervous system, based on which they are classified into central neuroglial cells or the peripheral neuroglial cells. The central neuroglial cells are further divided into astrocytes, microglia, oligodendrocytes, whereas the peripheral neuroglial cells are divided into Schwann cells and satellite cells. In the next video, we will see about receptors, synapses, neurotransmitters, and reflex activity. Thank you for watching this video. If you found this content useful, please do share with your friends. Also, do leave your feedback in the comment box. Thank you once again.